Hey guys, Foxdrop here with a video on the relatively new Skarner. Skarner's gone through a lot of changes recently, being fully reworked and then getting some extra mini tweaks on the side as well. And right now I just want to discuss with a little bit of detail how I think he fares in solo queue and how to be playing him. For those of you who aren't interested in any of the detail I'm going to give and just want a black and white answer to the question, is Skarner viable? Then yeah, I think Skarner is a viable champion in solo queue right now. But for those of you who are interested in more detail, we should first start by talking a bit about his role, or his purpose as a champion. Skarner has always been a bit of a one-dimensional character in the sense that he really just runs at you and beats the crap out of you. Now that's not really a problem when that strategy works, but unfortunately when you only have one weapon in your arsenal, when that weapon starts to become less effective like it has done recently, then you start to become less effective as well. He's always been a pretty fast jungle clearer, being able to control the jungle quite nicely. He's a very good sustained damage duelist as well. Very few champions can out-duel a Skarner past level 4 or 5. In addition to this, he also scales very well with items, and he can become a huge, massive bully if he gets ahead. So to talk a little bit about why Skarner has been unpopular is that he always struggles in the very early game, especially when it comes to ganking. In the end, his big problem was that he had very one-way playstyle, very one-dimensional, like I mentioned before. If you couldn't bully anyone, then he was pretty much useless. He didn't have the same pressure or objective control that the other junglers had, and didn't really translate very well into later stages of the game unless he had a significant lead. In addition to that, he was very easy to ignore due to the sore lack of any kind of advanced mobility apart from the speed from his W, and his E was essentially a completely useless spell. Having said all this though, Skarner was not like trash tier or anything like that. He was unpopular, but if you picked him, you would usually do okay with him in solo queue. Now what has changed with Skarner's new tweaks? Well, he essentially fills the same role, but is now more competitive and reliable, which is good. He's kind of the same champion, but now a bit better. The biggest way they've done this is with his new passive that allows him to stun targets that he can get a hold of, making him harder to escape than Alcatraz. This passive also benefits his usefulness overall and also softens that one-dimensional playstyle that has hindered him in the past. Now thanks to CC, he doesn't just have to run at enemies, but he can also build for his allies too. Despite the changes to his E, he still struggles with initiating ganks. It's really not that good as an engage tool, as its missile speed is slower than dial-up. What it is good at, however, is helping to apply his passive, and to keep targets slowed down on him once he is already on them. If you're looking for a checklist about good and bad things about Jungle Skarner, then starting with the good stuff, he is good at dueling and having sustained damage. Once he gets onto someone, he is extremely hard to get off. And once he gets ahead and with items, he's very powerful and snowbally. He's somewhat decent of a peeler when he needs to be, and at level 6, when he has his flashed, any lane is pretty much a free kill. The bad stuff, however, is that he still struggles against high mobility champions and gap closers. He's more useful than most champions when he gets behind. His effectiveness can heavily revolve around having his flash up, especially in teamfights, and he's still fairly one-dimensional. His W and his E abilities don't deepen his arsenal, they just make the one thing that he's good at easier and even better, which is running at people. However, like I said before, his passive does soften this somewhat. And also as a semi-downside that is kind of a negative but not necessarily one you need to worry about so much, is that you can't buy a Shurelya's on Skarner. Move speed is extremely important on him because he doesn't have a gap closer, so he relies entirely on his speed to catch up to people and to stick on to people. Shurelya's was very good with this, especially when it came to engaging, but you can't buy it anymore because of the gold generation conflict between having a jungle item and buying the talisman item. The support item and the jungle item conflict, so you cannot have both of them in your inventory. Playstyle wise on Skarner, you want to be farming a fair amount early game and only really looking to gank if enemies are really overextended or you see an opportunity to counter gank. Later on and in fights, Skarner is best at running into enemy carries and either obliterating them solo or ulting them into danger. You can, however, use his kit to peel, but it's not really ideal. Peeling might be best if you find yourself really far behind or you find that the enemy carries are for some reason inaccessible. Don't forget that Skarner scales extremely well with items, better than most junglers, so you have to keep on farming, but don't prioritize your farming over everything else and become useless in the game. It's about finding a balance. If you guys are interested in the more quantitative side of how I play Skarner, I'm leaving up this graphic now, which is going to have the runes masteries and all that lovely business, how I like to play Skarner. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you did like it, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to me, where I do more educational league content with a bit of entertaining stuff on the side as well. You can find me on my Facebook, on my Twitter, and catch me streaming on Twitch too. But I hope you have a lovely evening, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.